Iran sees its terrorist plan collapse in the Persian Gulf because Kuwait decided to abandon its cautious stance and act against men linked to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps before the threat could grow within the region itself. This Thursday, May 14, 2026, Tehran reacted with fury after 4 Iranians were detained on a vessel accused of operating near a sensitive area in Kuwait. And the response from Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi made clear the magnitude of the political blow. The Islamic Republic accuses, threatens revenge, and tries to pose as a victim, but the central fact is that yet another Gulf Arab nation has begun to treat the Revolutionary Guard as a direct threat, not as an untouchable force. The Iranian regime has always relied on intimidation from the shadows, with small boats, maritime pressure, regional allies, and inflammatory rhetoric to scare its neighbors. But now this mechanism is exposed. As Trump increases the pressure on Iran, Washington tightens the blockade, China feels the weight of American demands, and the Gulf allies are starting to show that they no longer want to submit to Tehran's blackmail. I'll tell you all about that in a moment, but right now you'll want to be subscribed to the channel to stay well informed with real-time information and the best journalistic quality you've ever seen. Milson Alves, the standard of credibility. The operation took place near the Bubiyan region, a sensitive area in northern Kuwait, close to the Persian Gulf and near the routes connecting Kuwait, Iraq, and Iran. Kuwaiti authorities state that the 4 men were linked to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard and were trying to enter Kuwaiti territory by sea. Tehran, in turn, says that the vessel was attacked illegally and demands the immediate release of those detained, and there lies the conflict. For Kuwait, it was a security operation against an infiltration. For the Iranian regime, it became a pretext for retaliatory rhetoric. The fact carries weight because Kuwait is not acting alone. In recent days, other Gulf nations have also begun to show more firmness against networks linked to Iran. A Wall Street Journal report had operations in several nations in the region against alleged Iranian sabotage networks with arrests and foiled plans. This shows a change in attitude. The old fear of provoking Tehran is starting to make room for a clearer decision to prevent the Revolutionary Guard from using small boats, local cells, and regional allies to spread fear. The Iranian reaction reveals the most sensitive point. The Islamic Republic knows how to use threats as a political weapon. When it loses ground, it tries to regain authority through bluster. Abbas Araghchi stated that Kuwait had acted near an island used by the United States to attack Iran and accused the Kuwaitis of sowing discord. But this statement also reveals Tehran's discomfort. The Revolutionary Guard, used to operating through indirect pressure, is now seeing its actions exposed and its men captured by a nation that previously avoided open confrontation. The Trump administration appears as the main driver of this pressure. While the Kuwait case explodes in the Gulf, Washington maintains the strategy of suffocating the Iranian regime by sea, through diplomacy and through intelligence. The United States Central Command reported that American forces have already redirected dozens of vessels during the blockade of Iranian ports. They allowed the passage of humanitarian ships and disabled vessels to ensure compliance with the rules. In another update, the number of commercial ships redirected reached 70 in the first month of the operation. This affects the money, the oil, the supply, and Iran's ability to sustain its military network. The White House is also putting pressure on China. Trump's visit to Beijing fits into this scenario as a heavy-handed political move. The American president arrives to address trade, security, and Iran at the same time. Reports indicate that Chinese companies discussed secret arms sales to Iran through third parties. Meanwhile, American authorities also accuse China-linked entities of helping Tehran with satellite images and technological support. Beijing denies some of these accusations, but American pressure is already forcing Xi Jinping to weigh every word. Trump's message is simple. Anyone who supports the Iranian regime will also pay a political price. This detail changes the weight of the Kuwaiti attack. The action is not just about an arrest at sea. It becomes part of a sequence in which Iran loses its comfortable regional position. According to Reuters, Saudi Arabia allegedly launched secret attacks against Iran when the regional war escalated. The information cited Western and Iranian officials familiar with the matter and pointed to retaliatory actions against Iranian positions. This reinforces the idea that Gulf nations are abandoning the policy of merely absorbing drone attacks, threats, and sabotage. They are starting to respond each in their own way, while Washington maintains the larger framework of pressure. The United Arab Emirates also appears on this board. Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet stated that the Israeli Prime Minister made a secret visit to the Emirates during the war with Iran. But Abu Dhabi publicly denied the information. Even with the denial, the mere leak of this version has already irritated Tehran because it touches on the point the regime fears most: the practical rapprochement between Israel and Gulf Arab nations against Iranian expansion. Its neighbors see the Revolutionary Guard as a direct threat, not as a respected force. The issue of the Strait of Hormuz deepens this isolation. The United States Department of State told Reuters that Marco Rubio and Wang Yi discussed their opposition to charging tolls on ships passing through the strait. This hits one of Tehran's favorite tactics, turning a vital route of world trade into an instrument of blackmail. If even Beijing, a major energy buyer and strategic partner of Iran, is willing to speak out against maritime tolls in Hormuz, the Islamic Republic realizes that its threat is starting to become costly even for its allies. History helps explain why Kuwait's gesture carries more weight than it seems. In 1987, during Operation Earnest Will, the United States began escorting Kuwaiti oil tankers in the Gulf after the war between Iran and Iraq threatened the flow of energy and put Kuwaiti vessels at risk. At that time, Kuwait sought external protection to survive the pressure of a war that was spilling over into the sea. Now the situation is different. Kuwait is not just asking for protection, but is also taking action against suspects linked to Iran's network. Before, a small Gulf nation was trying to escape the crossfire. Today, that same regional logic shows that small nations have also learned to identify infiltration, arrest operatives, and not let the Revolutionary Guard turn the Gulf into a staging ground for intimidation. Other nations have already proven that militias and parallel forces only grow when they find neighbors who are afraid to react. Israel spent decades responding to attacks from groups supported by Iran in Lebanon and Gaza because it understood that allowing the threat to settle near the border comes at a higher price later. Jordan also toughened actions against smuggling and infiltration networks coming from Syria, often associated with militias and routes linked to drug trafficking and the Iranian axis. Bahrain, in turn, has already accused groups linked to Iran of trying to destabilize its internal security. The pattern is clear. When Tehran can't advance with tanks, it tries to advance with boats, cells, local allies, funding, and psychological pressure. Now, the next move depends on Tehran. If the Islamic Republic turns Abbas Zarakti's threat into military action, it could open yet another front. Just when it is already facing an American blockade, Chinese distrust, Arab reaction, and Israeli pressure behind the scenes. If it backs down, it admits that a smaller Gulf nation managed to capture men linked to its network without paying an immediate price. That's why the talk of revenge sounds strong, but it also sounds nervous. The regime needs to appear dangerous to hide the fact that it is increasingly watched, surrounded, and exposed. I'm Milson Alves, an international relations analyst, and my purpose is to keep you well informed with the truth every day. The news links are in the video description. Like this video, subscribe, and check the comments at the end to stay engaged with the Milson Alves community.